What's up, guys? Today we're going to be taking a look at the flight animation in Anthem. Now, the first image that comes to mind whenever I see someone with a jetpack, whenever there's any type of jetpack animation or gameplay, is The Rocketeer. It's an old movie, but it's a great and fun film. If you haven't seen it, I advise you go check it out. It's pretty cool. Now, when it comes to Anthem, they're in some pretty heavy-duty suits, and scrubbing through the animation, I'm actually surprised at how flexible they got the character to be. Now, when we look at the Takeoff animations, I always love Takeoff animations because it gives a lot about the character, it gives a lot about the weight of the suit that they're wearing, it gives a lot about the jetpack, you know, how heavy duty is this jetpack. And when we look at the Anthem animation of the Takeoff, there is a hardcore squash. I mean, this person is almost parallel, one with the ground in this squash. And that squash leads to a stretch, we get a little bit of relax to compression. Then we go to the double jump to, another squash position, and actually jumps down and then stretches up again. Of course, we get another relax to squash, and then pop. The screen almost just goes completely white from the flare of the exhaust of the jetpack, and boom, we're taking off. Now, one of the things I had to take into mind is that there's not a lot of flailing of the limbs when the rocket, launches off. There's a great contrast with the squash and stretch, but when the rocket, takes off, the limbs are fairly stiff. They don't actually move until you're like turning left or right or up and down. But in that first moment of takeoff, the limbs are fairly straight. Now, one thing I wanted to contrast this with is actually the takeoff from Dark Void. It's an old game. I don't know if any of you guys have played it, but one of the reasons I liked it was actually because of, the jetpack. Once again, it reminded me of Rocketeer, and it was real fun to just fly around and shoot stuff. Now, in Dark Void, one thing I love about the Takeoff animation is exactly that, the flailing of the limbs. Because he's not in this, super heavy-duty suit, like, you really feel, the body being impacted by the force of the jetpack taking off. I mean, his arms are flailing all over the place, his legs are flailing all over the place. I mean, even when you're just normally flying, you get a little drifting in the legs. Not so much with Anthem, because once again, you're in that suit. So I think it adds a little bit of a character and also gives you a sense of how powerful this jetpack is, and I absolutely love the animation. Now, they're both great animations. It's just very different context that you have to take into account when looking and analyzing at the animation. So one thing I decided to do was actually do a version of the Anthem Takeoff animation in Maya. I believe this rig is called Rocket Girl. You can do a simple Google search for her and find out where to download it. But if you look at the animation, my timing is probably not as exact as the Anthem, but if you look at the animation, the overall principles are the same. You have the squash, the stretch, the squash, the stretch, and then the squash and the stretch. That's pretty much all this animation is. Now, my character doesn't seem to hang in the air as long as the Anthem, but you get the overall feel, you get that snappy timing of the jump, and then the release, and the jump, and then the takeoff. Now, one thing I always advise people to do is that if you ever see an animation that you like, whether it's in a video game or in a movie, try and copy it in, your animation application of choice, whether it's Maya, 3D Studio Max, Blender, and get a feel as to why you like that animation, whether it's the snappiness of the timing, the spacing of the poses, or the poses itself. Try and get a grasp of how the professionals do it. And once obviously you wouldn't put this in your reel, but once you get that feel of the timing or a certain animator that you really like, well, then that helps you in developing your own style of animation. Anyways, guys, that's going to be the video. Let me know what you guys think. Whether or not you prefer the more violent animation of Dark Void and the jetpack gameplay there, or if you happen to actually prefer a more streamlined animation of Anthem. Either or, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe, and until next time, keep animating.